Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I think we're just going to give one more minute for everyone to trickle into the session. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, please go ahead in the chat and just write who you are, what you do, what's your interest in coffee and circular economy. Because like it says in the ACEN's name, the network part, one of our main objectives is to create networks, create collaboration opportunities. So I think if we do a bit of chat and introductions here in the session, that will already facilitate a few connections being made. So let's give about 30 more seconds, and we will see who's in the room and see if we can connect a few people. Okay, I think we've got quite a few people in the room already. So let's start because we have quite an exciting agenda for us today, and it's quite a lot to get through. So let's jump straight in. I'll quickly just go over the agenda for what the session is going to look today, how the session is going to look today. So everyone, thanks again for joining this very exciting session with an exciting topic, the circularity in the coffee industry. So I'm Christo van Skalkwyk. I'm part of the ACEN operations team and also the lead of the communications team. And I'll be facilitating the session today. These are our speakers, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves as the session goes along. And just as a reminder, this session that we're having today is actually an official World Circular Economy Forum side event that is happening next week. So there will be a few ACEN representatives at the World Circular Economy Forum. So please look them up there and have a chat. So what today's going to look like, I'm going to do a quick welcome and introduction for us. And then I'll hand over to our friends at the Center for Circular Economy in Coffee to give us a quick presentation on circular economy coffee principles and the exciting work they are doing at the center. After that, we will jump into a panel discussion with all our speakers just to get a bit of perspective on this circularity in the coffee industry. And if there's some time, we'd like to take questions from the audience as well. So please do put your questions in the chat or even raise your hand. We'd like to give a few people opportunity to ask questions and give inputs. And then after that, we'll hand over to Eric from RealBridge to give some stories, some tangible, real stories from the coffee SMEs in Rwanda, because one of ACEN's big projects currently is the circular food systems for Rwanda, where we are working with SMEs to assist them to improve the circularity in their businesses. And there are two coffee SMEs that we're working with there. So that's quite exciting, and Eric will give us some feedback on that. And then we'll aim to finish at around 3:30 South African time. So we'll try and fit in everything. Okay, so first, before we jump into the content, I'll just like to share what ACEN is, who ACEN is, and what we do. So ACEN was founded in 2016 by a group of volunteers, and the idea was to develop a voice for Africa in this circular economy space. And since then, the ACEN network has grown quite substantially, and we currently have an Africa-wide footprint. So ACEN aims at promoting new business practices according to the concepts of circular economy, and also with a social inclusive strategy. So that's something ACEN always try and push, because that's always not as clear in the circular economy transition, is that the just part and the human part of the circular economy. So like I said, we have quite a big African footprint. So these are the countries that we have some members in. So we have over 500 members in 42 African countries. And like we know, the circular economy is not, you can't do it alone. You need a lot of partners. So we have a lot of partners that we work with to reach our vision, that the vision that ACEN has. And we have some international partners like the World Economic Forum, World Bank, UNEP, UNIDO, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and Citra, which we work closely with our involvement with the World Circular Economy Forum. And then we have these 4 focus areas that we aim to achieve our vision through. So that includes knowledge sharing and awareness raising. This includes webinars like these that we do, and also through our social media platforms. So we're quite active on LinkedIn and Facebook and some of the other platforms. So we'll share the links later that you guys can follow us there. And then we do training and masterclasses as well. This includes the private and public sector, SMEs, corporates, and also networking and events. So like I said, we are quite involved with the World Circular Economy Forum, for instance, where we were the co-organizers in 2022, where we organized the first African World Circular Economy Forum in Rwanda. So that was quite an achievement and put ACEN on the world stage. And then we do a lot of research activities as well. We work with a few universities, and through all our members and academic members, we take on a lot of research topics as well. So then jumping into the content for today. So why coffee? I mentioned here it's because of the triple bottom line that you might have heard of. So it's all about people, planet, and profit. And I'd like to share, I know our other speakers will go into a bit more detail in their presentations, but I'll just like to share 3 images related to this people, planet, and profit that puts it into perspective why the coffee industry is such a crucial industry to look at when it comes to circularity. And the first one is quite interesting. This is the top 10 coffee producing countries. And it's interesting to see that all 10 of them are developing and global south countries. So coming back to the human side of the circular economy and the just transition side, I think it's quite interesting the opportunities that is there for these developing countries and the people in those countries. So this is one of the main reasons why the coffee industry can be such an important topic to discuss. And then the actual coffee production process. So I don't know how in depth everyone knows this coffee production process, but it's quite intensive and very waste heavy. So if you look at from planting, the agricultural side of things, to harvesting, pulping, all the waste that's formed here, the energy that's needed during drying and roasting, the distribution and packaging part of it, and then obviously the spent coffee grounds that's left at the end of the day after you have your cup of coffee. There's every single arrow in this picture is a massive opportunity. And interesting fact that I came across thanks to Dario and Mary from the Center for Circular Economy in Coffee is the amount of waste in the system. If that's an interesting challenge, and I'd like people in the chat to actually take a guess of what percentage of this cherry that's harvested, what percentage of that cherry actually ends up in your cup at the end of the day. And we'll get to the answer later. I don't want to spoil it now. So I'd like to see who gets close to that number, because it was mind-blowing to me, the amount that ends up in your coffee. Yeah, so from an environmental point of view, there's so much opportunities with all the waste that is produced during the coffee process. And then when it comes to the money part, the profit side of things, the growth of the coffee industry is also phenomenal, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop soon. If you look at these numbers, in the last 30 years, the consumption and production of coffee has more than doubled. So quite a growing sector, which means growth in GDP, income, and again, if you think about the waste point of view, as this industry is growing, obviously the waste is going to grow with it. So it's so important to look at this coffee and circular economy. So those are just the 3 things I wanted to highlight on how it impacts people, planet, and profit. And I think we go into a bit more details, but for now, I will hand over to Mary and Dario for their presentation, and I'll stop share on my side. So go ahead, Mary, introduce you guys, what you do, and jump into your presentation, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christoph. And I would like to say that we're very happy to be part of this panel. And to start off, I think I will do a brief presentation to introduce the center and the work that we're doing, and then Dario will discuss the panel and take over from there. So the center is actually founded by the members that you see here, the logos that you see here, which is the Lavazza Foundation, together with Politecnico di Torino and University of Gastronomic Sciences in Pollenzo. Then we have the International Coffee Organization, International Trade Center, and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization as strategic advisors to the center. And we are a global pre-competitive platform for enhancing circular economy in the coffee sector. And this platform was launched in 2023 in the World Coffee Conference in Bangalore. And since then, we're very happy to announce that we have grown into having 56 members across 25 countries that you see here before you. And most of our members are small and medium enterprises, which is what makes us very different from other circular economy platforms. The fact that we are dedicated to specifically one value chain, and we also attract more small and medium enterprises that are valorizing coffee or trying to valorize coffee. But also in our members, a large section is also dedicated to public and academic institutions. Then we also have nonprofit organizations. And you can see some of our members here in the logo. We have notable organizations such as the International Fair Trade International Specialty Coffee Association, the Inter-African Coffee Organization, and some other small and medium enterprises such as Cotierra, which I will briefly talk about later on today. Our activities at the center are very similar to what ACEN is doing. We are trying to promote circular economy culture and knowledge specifically for the coffee sector. We do this through courses and technical guides, trainings, and practical resources. Some of this you can find on our website, and we basically think of our website as a hub for the latest and up-to-date information on valorizing coffee waste. Then another activity that we do is we collect and share good practices. Again, on our website, you can find a section that is dedicated to the latest and the latest information on how to valorize coffee. And you also will find specific case studies and examples. And all of these materials are approved by our scientific board. So the information that we do put out is it has been through a rigorous scientific check. Last but not least, with our members, we do pilot projects and research. We support our members trying to find a more circular pathway. And if we cannot do it ourselves, we also connect our members to possibly another opportunity through collaboration, or maybe for finding other partners to do a pilot project. Before we go deep into the details of the waste that's generated in the value chain, we started our work with defining what circular economy is specific to the coffee sector. Already definitions for circular economy exist, and we took inspiration from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And we kind of fine-tuned this definition together with our Coffee Guide Network, which is a network of experts made up of 62 experts from 36 countries. And the definition that we came out with is what you see here today, which is basically a kind of model that designs and balances and implements regenerative agriculture to mimic natural and systemic approaches. Why we think, talking about coffee, why is it so important? it's because it's very different from other value chains. I think Christo alluded to this earlier in his presentation. Personally, for me, it was very interesting to see that, of all the fruit that we harvest from the tree, the final product that ends up in our cup is less than 5% of what is provided to us as a resource from nature. And this is why the center collaborated with the International Coffee Organization to publish the findings and to raise the awareness about how much coffee waste is generated. And you can find more information in this publication, but I will briefly give you some highlights. So like I said, less than 5% of the coffee fruit is what ends up in the cup, but that means we're generating about 40 million tons of biomass, which remains usually in producing countries, which is about 70%. And in coffee consuming countries, we have about 11 million tons of spent coffee grounds that is currently just being discarded. It's not being valorized, and that's a lot of potential. And to give you a perspective of what 40 million tons of biomass means, it's equivalent to, let's say, 7 pyramids similar to the one in Giza. Coming back to our platform and what we're doing, like I said, you will find a lot of information on our website. So for anyone that's looking into the coffee sector and saying, okay, I have a waste and I'm part of the value chain, whether you're producing coffee at a primary processing stage, or you're roasting coffee, or you're retailing coffee, there's always something for you to do with the waste that is produced at that stage. And you can go on our website, click the part of the value chain you're in, and find solutions on how you can best utilize the resources you have on hand. Currently, we have about 23 best practices, and each of those best practices will have about at least 3 to 5 examples, if not more. And some of these resources also include a do-it-yourself tool. And for this, we have collaborated with one of our partners, which is Sawa World. They're an organization based out of Uganda, and they make videos and step-by-step guides on how to valorize waste. This kind of resources is also aimed at, I think what Christo said earlier is very important. Circular economy needs to be inclusive. And sometimes circular economy doesn't need to be fancy or super high tech. It can also be done with basic tools at a farm level, if we can make it accessible, and that's what we're trying to do at the center. The third activity, which is the pilot project and research, together with our member, which is the UNIDO, we have developed a project for Kenya to implement circular economy for the coffee sector. And basically, the approach that we followed in the methodology is that we went to the field, we discussed with our stakeholders to understand what the practices on the ground were, to understand the challenges, and then we also continued our desk research based on what we saw and what we heard. Then this helped us to release some more good practices through the findings of our desk research. But we also did a complementary design workshop with university students together with our partners Politecnico di Tirino, Ruffles Milano, and University of Gastronomic Sciences in Polenzo. Lastly, we invited our stakeholders this time to come to our offices in Turin to validate the findings of our research and to see what we found made sense, and our recommendations for moving forward the project were really accurate and feasible. And lastly, we submitted a final project document in September 2024, and this year we're starting the implementation in Kenya. So this is the approach that we had followed, and I wanted to show you also some of the design that came out of the workshops that we did with the students. So for example, you see here some really cool designs on how to create value addition and also engage youth, and how to make circular economy exciting for the coffee sector. I also want to highlight some of our member initiatives here and kind of the problems that they solve. Like I mentioned, we have about 11 million tons of spent coffee grounds, and mostly found in spent coffee consuming countries. But we have members like Coffee Craze, Coffee From, EcoBean, Café Bueno, and Husky, valorizing the spent coffee grounds to produce what you see here before you. So for example, Coffee Craze uses spent coffee ground together with recycled plastic to produce coffee cups. Coffee From does a similar uses a similar approach, but instead they create pens, and they also create some edibles, for example, from valorizing the spent coffee ground. They create, and they by using it as a cocoa substitute, they create chocolate. Then we have Husky in 2023, which is the past harvest, the harvest year 2 years ago. About 15 million tons of coffee husks were generated. And this could be a solution. What Husky does is, using the husk that is generated from natural coffee processing, they produce coffee cups. This company is based out of Australia, and they're sourcing their husks from the Yunnan region in China, where they have some coffee production. Then we have EcoBean, Café Bueno, and Coffee Resurrect, which are following a slightly high-tech solution to valorize coffee bioactive compounds from the spent coffee grounds, such as coffee oil, lignin, and other chemicals which are used as inputs for other industries, especially for the cosmetic industry. And to your surprise, Coffee Resurrect is actually based in Ethiopia. So some of these solutions might seem high tech, but they're also very feasible and applicable in the context of Africa. Similarly, again, for spent coffee grounds, we have our member Delta Coffee together with an organization called NUM that are using the spent coffee grounds as substrates to produce mushrooms. And another one, which is Ruwawa Farms, which is based in Kenya. They're using spent coffee grounds to produce pesticides, in combining it with other organic formulations, and to get rid of slugs and ants and some other unwanted pests on their coffee farms. And this approach has led them to minimize heavy metal from their soils, and has also helped them decrease the cost of pesticides on their farm. Last but not least, the other waste that is also a difficulty for processors is pulp. And this pulp can also be converted into food, which is cascara. And we have members such as Dahab Coffee and DNA, which are producing coffee cascara, which is basically the skin of the coffee. So it can be produced from the pulp or the husk to produce a really nice fruity beverage. And the market potential of this is quite high. It's expected to grow at 10%. And primary markets for products, for cascara products, are currently Asia and other emerging markets, which are starting to consume coffee but have generally been tea drinking countries. Last but not least, another way to valorize coffee is to produce biochar. But in the past, we've had a problem with high cost of producing a pyrolysis machine if we want it to be really accurate, or to use an artisanal pyrolysis machine, but it comes at the cost of inefficiency and poor scalability. And it's also very difficult to produce, because literally you're just burning biomass and the fire is just coming up to your face. And one of our members came up with a solution, which is a mobile and decentralized bioreactor machine, which which basically solves all the problems that we've had with producing biochar, and it helps producers gain additional income through the carbon credits generated in the biochar, and this biochar can also be applied as a fertilizer depending on if it depending on the material that the biomass the biochar is created with, or it can be combined with other organic waste so that it can be used as soil amendment for the soil. Yeah, and I guess I will conclude here. So basically, we want to say the center is really open to everyone, to anyone that's looking into the coffee sector and wants to accelerate circular economy initiatives, whether you're a grower, a producer, or you're just outside of the coffee sector, but you're looking into the coffee sector to utilize the waste. We really welcome you to join the center. And yeah, and I think I will stop here and for now. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. And I will say that I unfortunately will have to leave this call, but my colleague Dario will be here to answer all your questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mary, for sharing that. You guys are doing really great work. And please do share your website and how people can connect with you guys and become a member and get more involved. Thanks so much for that. So then I think perfect timing. Well done, Mary. So I think next we can run over to our panel discussion. So I'll invite Dario, Eric, and Prithvi to the stage. So so please do, if you have any questions for the panel, please do pop them in the chat, and we'll try and address them. But I think firstly, you've mentioned so many opportunities. Mary, I think between Dario, Eric, and Prithvi, what do you guys think from your side and with the work that you have done? What would you say is the biggest opportunities that you've seen for applying circularity in the coffee industry, and why would you say that is a opportunity? Maybe, and then I think as you guys speak, I think we can take turns, Dario, Prithvi, and then Eric, and then as you guys speak, you can just quickly introduce yourself to the participants as well.
Yeah, thanks, Christo. Yeah, I'm Dario Toso, and I'm heading the scientific board at the Center for Circular Economy in Coffee. And thanks a lot for having us today. It's a pleasure. So why we think circular economy is so important for the coffee sector? Mary explained very well that we are just drinking 1 to 5% of the cherry. So every year there are a lot of biomass left on the side, and there are a lot of wastes produced by the coffee chain. And if we think in a circular way, this kind of waste is an input, or can be an input for other activities, other processes. So we can get value out of this. I don't like to call it waste, but byproducts or yeah, or resources. It's better because they can be the feedstock for other processes. And then we show today that there are already companies that are making their business out of that. So it's something that is happening, and that's the beauty of the circular economy. It's not just a pilot. So what we are trying to do at the center is to gather all this information and all these experiences to inspire people and to inspire the coffee value chain, because we know that if a farmer can have a side business beside the production of the bean, like valorizing the pulp into a cascara beverage, or producing mushrooms, or making biochar, its business is more resilient, the environmental impact is lower, and also there are some social benefits. So it's just a different way to look at what we have every day in our life. And that's the main, I think, the most important things about circular economy, and why we decided to open the center. That I'm stressing a bit about that. It's a pre-competitive initiative, just because we would like to accelerate the transition as much faster as we can.
Thanks so much for that, Dario. And I'd love that you mentioned the waste word, because we also don't like to use that word. We rather say it's a secondary resource, because that just changes the mindset. It's not a waste; it's a resource that you can use. And again, to your point about the having tangible examples, I think just to show people that it is actually possible and it isn't just theory anymore. You can really do some practical things. And then I'd like to hand over to you, Prithvi. Please tell us a bit more about what you guys do at Nzatu. Introduce yourself,
Sure.
and then also from your point of view, what do you see as big opportunities from the work you've been doing?
Yeah. So hi everyone. Thanks, Christo and Dario, and I think Mary just is still on. Very aligned at Nzatu. I'm one of the co-founders. I'm the chief sustainability officer. We're a for-profit, headquartered in Switzerland, but we're operational. We have two offices, one in Zambia and one in South Africa. We came up as a for-profit services company to look at all farmers, commodity agnostic. But it seems that the coffee farmers and the cooperatives were the first ones to step up to engage with us on beekeeping training. So, looking at beekeeping as an additional form of income to the farmers, we also started looking at, hey, what other things can we do to make sure that we can improve livelihoods and the incomes to the farmers themselves and the cooperatives that we work with. So our goal is really a triple impact on wildlife and biodiversity, social upliftment, and on local climate resilience to the farming communities. So our specific case, of course, we leverage technology and the expertise of our advisors, academia, various biodiversity and conservation partners. A specific case that we're working on right now in Uganda is with the Lawrence Anthony Earth Organization. So they're a conservation organization, and they have an informal cooperative of 3,000 to 5,000 farmers in Western Uganda. They've been producing, and smallholder farmers just producing coffee over the last 10 years or so. And they've been taking and selling their 100, 200 kilos each to these stores where they pay for hulling, where they pay for various services, and then they sell their coffee. So we thought, why not look at developing, not rocket science, it's basic infrastructure closer to the farmers. Let's say like a hulling station, helping them with beekeeping training. Even within beekeeping itself, they think beeswax is waste, so they seem to be throwing it away, even the farmers that do practice beekeeping. So recovering that waste on the beekeeping front, yes, but focusing more on coffee. In all kinds of ways, I think the reverse logistics needs to make sense. If it's not economically feasible to transport the waste, then you're losing a lot of value. So it's best to add value close to where the waste is generated. So the first case is the pulp and the flour. If you're pulping and if you have wet pulp, you're transporting the waste to be processed somewhere else. You're paying for the moisture, which is going to be evaporated later on. So that's one thing that needs to be close to where the pulping happens. The second thing, if we're looking at hulling and taking the husks and putting it back into compost and using it as manure or fertilizer or addition to fertilizer, that husking or hulling cannot be happening 200 kilometers from the farm, because you're literally transporting air back and forth. And it really makes the per kilo cost of such a fertilizer input not viable. So in these two cases, I think having the necessary capex and the expertise close to where the waste, quote unquote, is generated is really the key, and reducing reverse logistics costs. That's what we've seen. One other thing that we're looking at is in Eastern Uganda this time, one of our partners is setting up a washing station for the first time he's been an aggregator, but now they're expanding into setting up a washing station, doing their own pulping. But from the get-go, they want to start looking at recovering the wastewater, right? So there's a lot of wastewater that comes out of the pulping process. What do you do with that? How do we reuse that going forward? We're looking at research that says moringa seeds, moringa oleifera seed oil extract could be used to sort of reduce the turbidity of the water itself, of the wastewater after pulping, and then bring that water back in and reuse it instead of letting it go, which has a higher toxicity than would be acceptable to be let as runoff, primarily in the form of nitrogen. So that's something that we're trying to look at, and we're also in Zambia setting up initiated, let's say, a regenerative, let's say, a restoration process over degraded land with moringa itself. So, of course, the first let's say, opportunity for the moringa is for nutrition, but something that doesn't qualify for food grade could definitely be a benefit to our coffee farmers. So the key, I think, in all of this, we do have solutions. The key is that the waste recovery and the utilization is economically feasible and beneficial to the farmers, and then that would help on various fronts, like improving incomes, their livelihoods, and also offsetting, market prices that are quite volatile.
Thanks a lot for those inputs, Prithvi, and I couldn't agree more. Having those local solutions, and I think that's also one of the critical things when it comes to circular economy, is not distributing things around the world and 90% of it is air or water. If you can do something locally, and the closer you can get to the actual source, the better. So that's a brilliant point. Thank you very much. Then I'll hand over to you, Eric. Go ahead, introduce yourself. What do you guys do at RealBridge? And then also address what do you see from the work that you guys have been doing, and maybe specifically in Rwanda. What opportunities do you see in applying circularity in coffee?
Thank you very much, Chris. Christo. I'm Eric Matabaro. I'm from Rwanda. I'm the CEO and the founder of RealBridge. RealBridge is a private company that supports farmers implement sustainability practices in a different value chain, in horticulture, in tea, with main focus in coffee. We have been supporting farmers for almost 7 years, supporting mainly in certification, in organic certification, fair trade, Rainforest Alliance, a Global Gap, and also currently we are supporting farmers in a circularity, embedding circular principles in their businesses. I was also privileged to work with the Rwanda Circular Food System Program since 2023. We supported at RealBridge, we had the opportunity to support 2 SMEs in coffee to understand, first of all, what is circularity, which is a bit a new concept for some of the SMEs, and also understanding the value of what they always call waste, understanding how those waste can be valorized to make a valuable product. There's a lot of opportunities to embed circular principles in a coffee value chain. During the intervention, it was a great opportunity to conduct a need assessment, a gap assessment at the farm level, at the processing unity, to understand all the waste generated and also quantifying those waste and see how those waste can be useful. For instance, for one client we worked before, it was the one. It's a big SME. They have around six coffee washing stations located in different parts of the country. They have also a dry mill, but they had a challenge of a high amount of they use high quantity of water at the coffee washing station, and also they generate a lot of amount of coffee pulp, which was a challenge for environmental impact and at the regulators level, even also at standard level. Those voluntary sustainability standards who always also require them to comply so that they can have access to international market. And also they buy water for processing those coffee, but they couldn't know the amount of water they use for the amount of wastewater they generate, and how that water also can be again useful to process the coffee. So during the that was at the coffee washing station. When we go also at the dry mill, we realized also they produce a lot of amount of coffee husk. That coffee husk, mostly they sell it at a very low price at those people who make bricks, to burn bricks in their communities. So after working with them, after building their capacity through discussions and engaging them, we realized that there's potential to produce pellet, which can be a great source of energy for cooking. So just after the intervention, they were very interested directly to grasp the opportunity. We implemented through our support. They started implementing the project of making pellet. They made pellet from coffee husk, mixing with some sawdust. It was really a good product, and currently they have started also to sell, which was another source of income, revenue stream at the company level. And also it created also some jobs through that factory. We also train them also at the coffee washing station how they can make compost from those coffee pulp by using a vermicomposting technology, which was really useful, and also increasing the quality of that compost. Here in Rwanda, and I think in East Africa, most of the coffee producers are smallholders farmers who sometimes who don't really have enough capacity to afford inorganic fertilizer. And also that inorganic fertilizer also contribute in soil pollution, soil contamination. So through by implementing that practices of vermicomposting, with mixing this coffee pulp with the vermicomposting technology, it's a good solution to generate the soil fertility and also reduce the reliance on inorganic fertilizer, which also can be a good potential for the farmers, those who want to go organic, those who want to start producing organic coffee, which has good market. The market of organic product is growing globally, And once they have that input, it's really a good opportunity for them. Another product we tried also to assess was the biogas, but it was a bit challenging based on the location of the coffee washing station and also the end users. So we tried to conduct the feasibility study and the cost benefit analysis. We realized that it was a bit difficult for those SMEs, but for those who might be closer to end users, it's another also opportunity to explore and also to conduct more research to understand how that mucilage and the coffee pulp can be also a potential source of energy. Currently, those SMEs really they're very happy to understand this concept and also implement. Although there are some challenges for the capital to implement some of the circular solution, but one of the other solution we provide to them was to develop the circular roadmap so that they can understand and broadly, not just limiting from themselves, understanding the ecosystem, understanding the opportunities in the country, understanding the opportunities at the international level, understanding also how they can work with different partners and the different investors so that they can implement some circular solutions. So this is the stage, and in summary, circular principles are important in the coffee sector and specifically at the SMEs level, and they bring a lot of there's a lot of opportunities for SMEs, to producers, to processors, researchers, who might also work, who might be also interested to understand this sector, specifically in coffee, and also anyone also who might be interested also to contribute on corporate social responsibility. It's another opportunity to work with the SMEs who are in coffee. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for those inputs, Eric. Really appreciate it. And something that stood out that you mentioned, and Prithvi also touched on it, is that some of these SMEs are just not aware that something that they consider as a waste and something to get rid of, like you mentioned with the beeswax, Prithvi. That's an amazing product, and they want to get rid of it because that's not their main focus. And just like you said, Eric, just to get that awareness to the SMEs, because they are so busy with their day-to-day operations, they don't have time to think about other venues or other opportunities. So I think that's already a massive win, just to make them aware of the opportunities that are there. Okay, so then I quickly want to do some of these questions. Thanks a lot for the questions in the chat. I'd like to, Daria, I think this one is for you from Katerina, which is quite a good question. Mary spoke about biopolymers in her presentation. So Katrina has a good question that I'm also interested to hear what you guys' take is on it. So if you create something out of this, if you create a biopolymer from coffee grounds and you create some sort of product, what happens at this product when it reaches end of life? So for example, the cup, because like she mentions, in Africa, it is quite an issue to segregate the waste. So it's, for example, the PET from the bioplastics, it can create problems. So any inputs on that, Dario?
Yeah, thanks for the question, and that's a very important topic, because once we think a circular product, it have to be circular for as much as possible. So maintaining the circularity as longer as we can. So the coffee cup have to be recyclable or compostable at the end of life. And the cups we shown today and Mary presented are designed to get some fillers with spent coffee grounds. So the filler normally have been with minerals or other plastic. And instead of using that, those companies are using spent coffee grounds or ask, as like ASCII coffee. And at the end of life, the main material, so the main plastic is still recyclable. I did some testing in the past because we developed a component using silver skin together with polyethylene in a plastic component, and we did so. What I learned from that is that we can achieve 15% of filler without affecting the recyclability of the component. So they are designed in a way that can be recycled at the end of life. Coffee from, for example, in Milan is also developing similar material, but based on PLA that is compostable. So at the end of life, the organic filler will be composted together with PLA. So there are different strategies, different options, and depends where you are marketing these cups. So there's no just one solution that fits all, and it strongly depends on the waste stream you have in the market. And that's a true story. So we cannot just state that a cup is circular because it contains spent coffee ground. You have to be circular even at the end of life. So you have to valorize the product. I personally, for coffee cups, I prefer the reusable cups because it can be reused many times. But still, it depends on the logistics, on the market, on many things together. So it's very complex to design for circularity, but those kind of solution I think can improve if well used the material circularity of that product. That's
If
a
I may jump in
very
on
good
that,
point.
if I may jump in on that too, Christo, to Dario's
Please do.
point, it is an innovative use for spent coffee grains, but for the creation of a new material, there are at a large scale, you need consistency of the feedstock, which is always an issue, especially with any kind of plastic waste even. And creating let's say a filler material with even 15% of spent coffee grounds, you're still compounding with other petrochemicals-based polymers and other materials that go in, which makes it recyclable but not necessarily compostable. And if you're composting it, you need to make sure that it goes to a compost bin and not to a general recycling bin, where it would then get incinerated or sent for energy recovery, which means you're paying a premium for something that's going to be burnt at the end of the day anyways. And I just want to take this other question on that's here on logistical challenges for the spent coffee grounds. No, we haven't, as Nzatu, looked at the downstream coffee grounds waste as such. I would say we haven't looked at that at all. I would, off the top of my head, look at sending it to composting for as the best option. So composting, worms love coffee, spent coffee grounds. If you're composting at home, I do that. My worms love them. But if you do have industrial composting within your cities, then creating a network between the hotels, restaurant, cafeteria association to collect coffee grounds specifically and send it to a large-scale composting, I think would be the best use.
Yeah, if I can jump in, there are 2 points that I think it's very useful and to deep dive. And thanks for the comments. The first one is that when we think about circularity, there are different strategies. And for spent coffee grounds, for example, if we use that as a filler, we can think about different steps. So maybe as a first step, taking care to a biorefinery, as Mary showed before, like Café Bueno, EcoBean, and the others, they can extract polyphenols and some useful and valuable compounds, and then the rest of the spent coffee ground that is still 90% can be used as a filler or compost for other application. And I would like just to add that we are now in the process within the center to write down a white paper on spent coffee ground valorization. So we are dealing with our members, but also with the coffee guide networks. And it's very interesting because there are a lot of different strategies, and logistics is one of those, the main bottleneck today. So one of our members, that is Irfine from Canada, have developed a very smart system that stabilized the spent coffee grounds directly in the cafeteria in order to make the logistics more easier. So you can collect the spent coffee grounds that are dried, and then you can store for longer time than normally you can do. And that's a good strategy, I think, in order to collect some material that can be valorized in the second time. So there is something going on, but yeah, it's a logistics. It's a it's a tricky point for spent coffee ground, but there are solutions there.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, Dario. The comment that you made, I think there's so many solutions. You should just pick the correct one for your specific scenario, your specific situation. That's the tricky part. So I think we have 5 or 6 minutes left before we need to jump to Eric's presentation on the Rwanda SMEs. But before then, I'd like to address these two questions, maybe between Dario and Prithvi. The first one is from Daniel. So do you guys maybe have any insights on the availability of training and seed funding for early stage startups who wants to engage in reuse of spent coffee ground waste?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are dealing with startups for spent coffee grounds. As I mentioned, we are writing down a white paper, collecting the main ideas around that. And we know that at European level, mainly, there are some funding for improving, for valorizing spent coffee grounds. But also in Africa now with the Coffee Act provided by UNIDO, and this is part of the Matei plan, but it's a big program that is trying to improve the coffee sector in across Africa. That could be some opportunities in the future, even for spent coffee grounds, because we know that local consumption is something is a key point. And so with the increase of the local consumption, there will be an increase in availability of spent coffee grounds and a growing interest around that. But yeah, we can keep in touch, and then please write an email to us, and then we can discuss more in details. Thanks.
So anything to add from your side, Prithvi?
From a Swiss perspective, we have the we're of course very deeply or very closely watching the Matei plan as well. But from a Swiss perspective, locally we have the Swiss Sustainable Coffee Platform that's giving out a grant opportunity that's opening up in June. So there are two opportunities to collaborate within members. So I'm sure there's space for spent coffee ground use.
Excellent. I think there's your answer, Daniel. So please connect up with Dario and Prithvi and follow Nzatu and the center. And there's definitely some resources there that can assist you. And then the next question from Chris. So is there any, from your guys' side, any learnings on the viability of biochar options that was briefly touched on earlier?
Yeah, as I mentioned, biochar is growing its interest because it's a valuable product as a soil amendment. So it can give you an opportunity to save some fertilizer and also water usage. And beside that, you can also generate some carbon credit. So that's another part of the interest around biochar production. And there are a lot of movement around biochar. As Mary said before, there are different strategies around the biochar. So big pyrolysis plant against very small units. From my side, I think the smaller one in Africa can work very well because they are more flexible, and we know that coffee has just one crop per year. So in order to run a pyrolysis plant or device, we need to have feedstock constantly. So if you are flexible in that, probably it's easier to have a benefits in terms of economic and also environment.
And just to add to that point again, I'd like to bring in the point of logistics. Even if you do have a centralized facility, you can't have a capex for once a year batch process. So that capex costs, let's say, between $500,000 to $1 million for smallholders or a cooperative to come up with to use once a year. It's yeah, we'll have to work out on the logistics. I think that will also affect the quality of the carbon credits, which affects the price. So there's a lot of trade-offs there.
Yeah,
definitely. Thanks so much for those inputs, Dario and Prithvi. Much appreciated. And I think that brings us to our next agenda item, Eric. So Eric is going to do a quick presentation for us on specifically the coffee industry in Rwanda itself, and then the SMEs that the Real Bridge has been working with. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Are you able to see my screen?
There we go. Yes, we can see. You can just make it in presentation mode. Perfect.
Okay.
Now it's back to the normal view. Just click presentation mode again. There, perfect.
It's okay now?
It's back to the normal view. Now it's right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much again, Christo and ACEN, for this opportunity to share our experience on circularity in coffee SMEs in Rwanda, and also talking about a little bit on Rwanda coffee sector. Coffee in Rwanda is one of the leading export crop contributing on significantly to the national economy. The country produces around 20,000 metric tons of coffee, of green coffee. 90% of that produced coffee is exported. Only around 2% is consumed at the domestic market. One of the variety produced in Rwanda is Arabica, which is the dominant variety produced in Rwanda. Very little quantity of Robusta produced in Rwanda due to the agroecology of the country. The country exports coffee in the different countries and the continent, mainly in the US, Europe, and Asia. We have what we call Rwanda National Agriculture Export, NAEP, which is the regulating government entity that regulate the coffee production, processing, and export. As you see on the map, due to the conducive environment, almost in many districts of the country, they have good environment for coffee. Rwanda coffee value chain, as we said before, the coffee is owned by smallholders, farmers. Those coffee farmers, they supply coffee to traders and the coffee washing station. Those coffee washing station, we have some are owned by private, other are owned by the cooperatives. And also we have from the production to the coffee washing station or wet mill. After this processing, the coffee goes at the dry mill. The dry mill, we have some owned by the private and the other also owned by cooperatives. This graph might not be updated, but this number of dry mill has been growing, and also the number of the exporters and the union is also growing. So the export market, as said earlier, is about 98%, and the domestic market around 2%. Also, the domestic market also is growing. In let's say 10 years ago, many Rwandans were familiar to consume tea more than coffee. But at the moment, we have seen the growing of local consumption, and also coffee shops is one of the business which also growing fast in the country, in Kigali, in other cities, even in some more remote areas. The coffee processing flowchart, we have different methodology. Some of you might know. There is dry mill. There's a dry method which does not use water. Just directly after harvesting, they dry and they do drying and sorting. There's also this method, what we call wet methodology, which goes through after harvesting. There is sorting, then pulping. After pulping, they remove the pulp from here. When there is harvesting, there is a product which is heterogeneous coffee berries. Some are ready, some are not full mature. During the harvesting, there is also another selection at this stage. After harvesting, there is sorting. The sorting, where you also do you separate the berries based on the quality and also on the maturity level. Then there's a stage where we remove pulp. During this stage, there is a product and a byproduct, which is a mucilage parchment coffee, and which has high acidity, and also coffee pulp and pulping water. This coffee pulp, one of the product which has also the potential to produce the biogas and also produce the fertilizer. After there's the fermentation, and here also you get, after fermentation, you get washed coffee bean. here also there is the wastewater and also mucilage. The final product for all this methodology, you produce green coffee. This green coffee, which is the product mostly exported. Here we have also the grinding and the roasting and the grinding, which is not very common for export market. People do roast coffee here when they want to export, for local consumption, but for exports we stop here at the green coffee. At this stage, there is a byproduct of coffee husk. Coffee husk, which is the product we spoke, which has potential to produce the pellet or the energy from gasification, and also the biochar, as my colleague said there before in their presentation. Although we have not yet started here to explore more on biochar, but we are aware that it's also a product which can be produced from this coffee husk. There is a need for sustainability in the coffee value chain by addressing the environmental challenges from wastewater at the coffee roasting station and also coffee pulp generated at the coffee roasting station, coffee husk generated at the coffee dry mill. There is also a challenge of poor soil fertility and the high cost of inorganic fertilizer. These are some of the challenges that need to be addressed in order to meet sustainability. And these challenges can be addressed by implementing circular principles in the coffee value chain. This picture you see, it was me and my colleague when we were conducting need assessment at the Gigasari coffee washing station. We were trying to see the amount of wastewater they produce at their coffee washing station before proposing a circular solution that can enable them to address the environmental challenges they were facing, and also how they can do the recycling of that water so that they can reduce the amount of water they use in coffee processing. Also, apart from the environmental addressing the environmental challenges, there is also a need to enhance economical resilience in coffee through diversification of income source, access to financial services, strengthening value chains, investing in skills and education, climate smart practices, and sustainable resource use. And also, there's also a need of policy support and the environment and the enabling environment. These are the important intervention to make sure that the coffee value chain become more sustainable. Here, let's go discuss on technical assistance provided under CRF program implemented by ACEN and WRI and the government of Rwanda, which were also part of the technical advisor to support the coffee SMEs. This SME, one of the SME we supported is called the Chigasari Coffee Company, which is a company established in 2016. They source coffee from around 5,107 smallholders farmers. Their market, they export coffee to European and the Middle East market. This organization has 6 coffee washing stations spread in the country, and they have 1 dry mill located in Kigali. During the intervention, we identified the wastewater generated at their coffee extension session, as you can see here in the picture. And also coffee husk at the dry mill located in Masaka in Kigali, where we found that they have a potential to produce 800 metric tons of coffee husk. During the intervention, we conducted a circular food system need assessment, awareness training on circular food system and the circular business model by using the Canvas business model tools, feasibility study on a selected circular solution, which was the compost, and also even the biogas and the gasification. We conducted the feasibility study before we recommend them the solution based on the cost-benefit analysis. We conducted the capacity building on a compost making from coffee pulp, pellet making, and also the gasification process to understand also how that intervention can be also can contribute on their businesses to reduce the energy cost and also other environmental footprint. They also we conduct the pellet market assessment and the feasibility study to understand the market of the pellet in the country and how they can be able to produce those products. After that, we conducted a customized coffee circular food system roadmap so that they can be able to continue to produce, to elaborate more and also understand how they can continue to be more circular after our support. After conducting the capacity building, the gap assessment, and also we come up with the recommendation where we recommended them to put more effort on a compost making from coffee pulp with the compost technology, and the pellet from coffee husk, which has already started, and also adopting the gasification energy source in the future, because based on the context, the cost of maintaining these gasification processes as a source of energy, it was not cost. There was no. Based on the cost benefit analysis, it was not profitable because in the vicinity they didn't have other end user. So, but in the future, because their dry mill is located in the industrial zone, there is potential to use this energy in the future based on the increase of the end user near the factory. So the pellet and the fertilizer were the most product selected by them through discussion and based also on the cost benefit analysis and the other factors. So there's the opportunities, we said, there's a potential to adapt circular practices. This composting, composting technology, scaling up pellet manufacturing facility. There's high demand of the organic fertilizer from other agricultural value chain, such as fruit and vegetable producers. There is also potential to grow organic coffee, which has good price and the global demand. There is also some challenges: lack of the capital to establish the pellet manufacturing plant, their dry mill. What they had was like a piloting, but they wanted to develop the big one, which can be so that it can make more profit, or it can be able to use all the coffee husk they have. And also the vermicomposting facility at their coffee washing station, because the coffee washing station, they are spread in different parts of the countries. So it's advised to make small facilities at each coffee washing station. It requires some capital, but based on the benefits they see from the compost, they are working on it to make sure that they start the vermicomposting from coffee pulp businesses. The second SME was the coffee Gisuma Coffee Cooperative, which is also a small coffee cooperative located in Rusizi district, Western Province of Rwanda, with the 185 member, with 122,232 coffee trees. They produce around 233,803 kg of coffee cherries. This was the production of 2021. They have only one coffee washing station. They have 6 permanent employees and approximately 100 casual workers during the coffee season. As you see, it's a small organization, but also to embed coffee, circular coffee principles in their production, so that they can be more sustainable and they get more revenue stream from coffee, from circular product. One of the challenges they were facing was the poor soil fertility at the farm level. The same also high reliance on agroeconomical to control pest and disease, low access to finance, and inadequate knowledge and skills on water management, wastewater management at their coffee roasting station, and also inadequate capacity to embed circular strategies in their coffee value chain. One of the solutions we proposed was to train. We trained all the employees on compost making by using composting technology. During this period, also, Rio Bridge developed like a sample of vermicomposting. We collected some coffee pulp, which was on the coffee roasting station, and then we made also like a MVP, which can be a reference to see how this technology operates. Up to now, it's still working, and then the process to raise the capital so that they can start also the scale up the intervention. We also trained farmers and the lead farmers on regenerative agriculture practices, mainly with main focus on IPM and the soil fertility management. We provide training on financial literacy and the circular business model. We trained also the employee on waste management and also maintenance of the existing infrastructure they have. We also developed a 5-year circular food system roadmap so that they can continue to implement some circular solutions based on the availability of resources, and also so that they can be able also to partner with different stakeholders who might be interested to support some specific circular solutions. As conclusion, integrating circular economy principles in the coffee sector can significantly enhance the sustainability of coffee production in Rwanda. Embedding circular food system in coffee also can alleviate environmental impact and also support the economic viability of coffee farmers and the processing unit. There's a need of strengthening collaboration between the policymakers, financial institutions, coffee producers can contribute also in addressing some of the through collaboration. It can be one of the solution that can help producers to address those challenges identified. Thank you. Murakoze.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Eric. It's great to see the progress that has been made with these two SMEs. And what also stands out for me is the longer term strategic vision that you guys had with the training that you did. So it's not just a once-off thing. You implemented these roadmaps and these 5-year plans for the SMEs. So that's great to see that they have a something to work towards. Then, is there any questions for Eric from the audience? Please raise your hand or mention something in the comments if you have any questions. I think we as ACEN was quite excited to work with RealBridge together with these SMEs.
Yeah, sure.
If there's no questions, I also just want to give the rest of our speakers, Dario or Prithvi, if you guys have any final words from your side to end off the session for us. Is there anything that stood out for you? In 1 minute, anything specific you want our participants to take away from this session, and how to take action on these things that they've heard here today?
Yeah, thanks, Christo. But I would like to thank you, everyone, for attending the webinar. It was very, very interesting also from our side. I learned a lot today. And I think this is a good momentum for circular economy in the coffee sector, because we are learning that we can get a lot of value out of what we call waste. And then, yeah, so I think it's a good way to start. Maybe we can, if you are interested in knowing more about the center, please reach out to us, and then we are open to everyone, and then we can further discuss about that. So thanks again for having us.
Thank you, Dario. Prithvi, any last words from your side?
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you all for joining, listening to us, and it was great to answer some of the questions. Last takeaway from my side would be to look at specific cases. There's no one solution fits all. So even if a solution works in Rwanda, it might not work in Angola. So within the same continent. So specific questions, stick to the streams. Don't try to apply upstream solutions to downstream problems.
Exactly. That's crucial, because it's all context specific at the end of the day. Because I think all of us, we've seen applications that came from Europe or America and works perfectly in their context. But in Rwanda, like you said, Rwanda, Angola, South Africa even, it just does not apply always. So crucial. Very good point, Prithvi. Thank you very much. And then I think I'll close the session for us. We have 1 minute left. So I also just want to thank you for our speakers for your time and the effort put in. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the participants for your time as well. And I always like to close off a session to saying that this webinar has come to an end, but it should actually just be the start of something going forward. So you should take away the knowledge and insights that you gained here. And even if there's just one point that stood out for you, go and take action on it. Join these networks, join the center, follow Nzatu, see the case studies and the best practices that's shared. Follow that. Join these networks and keep the conversation going. All these connections that have been made in the chat, keep on connecting, follow up with anyone that you've chatted here today, and just take this circular economy, specifically in the coffee industry, take it forward, because there's so many opportunities and so much benefit that can be had. Thank you, everyone. Have an excellent day, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Next,
Bye.
Krista. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.